In this example, we need to graph the following using the slope and y-intercept, and I have two equations here. Well, if I need to use the slope and the y-intercept, hopefully you remember the slope-intercept form of the line, which I've written here, and it's y equals mx plus b. M, the coefficient of the x term, is the slope, and b, the constant term, is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is an ordered pair. Its x-coordinate is always 0. The y-coordinate comes from this equation. Looking at our first example, y equals 5, is it possible to put it into slope-intercept form? Notice there's no x term. So if I write my equation as y equals 0 times x plus 5, is that the same as y equals 5? Yes, because 0 times x is 0, 0 plus 5 is 5. So now I've written it in this format. M is the coefficient of the x term, so we know our slope is 0. And what is the y-intercept? Remember, it's an ordered pair, 0, comma, b. And what's b in this case? 5. So I have enough information to draw my graph. But one thing I want to point out is when you see y equals 5 and m equals 0, hopefully this is reminding you of work we've done in previous sections. Y equals 5 is the equation of a horizontal line, and its slope is 0. So let's graph this horizontal line. I use the y-intercept, 0, 5, start at the origin, go nowhere in the x direction, up 5 in the y. And now I need to graph a horizontal line. So here is my horizontal line going through 0, 5. Don't forget, put arrows on both ends. And that is the equation y equals 5. Now let's move on to our second example. X equals -6. Is it possible to write it in slope-intercept form as y equals something? No, that is not possible. There is no y term in my equation. So this is almost a trick question. We cannot use the slope and the y-intercept to graph b. You have to go on previous knowledge, and hopefully you remember x equals a constant is the equation of a vertical line. And what is the slope of a vertical line? The slope of a vertical line is undefined. So I'm going to use this information to graph my equation. So every point on this vertical line has to have an x-coordinate of -6. So I'm going to start with the x-intercept. And what is the x-intercept? It'd be -6, 0. So I go left 6, nowhere in the y. So there is my x-intercept. And now I'm going to draw a vertical line. Don't forget, you put arrows on both ends. That is the line x equals -6. And I think you can see why I can't graph it using the slope and the y-intercept, because does this vertical line cross the y-axis? No, there is no y-intercept. It has an x-intercept of -6, 0, but it has no y-intercept. And don't forget, the slope is undefined. So whenever you have to graph a line and there's only one variable present, if the variable is a y, it's a horizontal line. If the variable is an x, it's a vertical line. Those are the two special cases of graphing lines.